Thank you, Paul, for coming into On the Road to Success podcast. And I am so excited to share your journey with my audience and your audience. So I have a very important question. The first thing I want to know so that you can share with my audience is, where is your success most important to you right now? How do you define the success that you have right now, and how do you think you embody that success with the things that you have learned with your experience and your wisdom?
Well, first off, I'm honored that you are having me on your podcast, and I'm excited to talk with you today. To answer your question, for me today with success, I've learned that being present as much as possible and gratitude has been the greatest gifts for me to be successful. I feel when you're in a state of gratitude, your mind starts to feed off that, meaning when your mind's in a positive state, it says to yourself, oh, Paul likes positive, so let me show him more positive. And as a result, it shows up in my life being positive, because there's been times in my life where I've been negative and my mind says, oh, Paul wants negative, so let me show him a world of negative. So if I can get my mind in a state of positivity, greater things come into my life, whether that being success in my business, whether that being success in my personal life. It's all about gratitude. What is going well in my life right now? And one of the things that I like to do is I like to write down something in my life every morning, something. And it doesn't have to be some grandiose thing, because I could have had a miserable night before where I didn't get any sleep or anything like that. And it could just be, I'm in a warm bed, and that could be my gratitude for the day, or whatever is going on in my head. But starting my day with positivity kind of gets my day going in the right foot. So that I would say that's been my best success principle, is gratitude and being present in the moment as much as possible.
So, that's fantastic, because that means what you're trying to say is it's also contagious. Whatever you put out there is contagious, and people want more of that. And of course, if you have negativity, it's contagious too. So that attracts the negativity and keeps you in that state. And the positivity, gratitude, and a positive mindset continues the same line. It's like it wants to build another chain for another chain, another chain. It's really nice. So what would you say right now is your best success? Like, where you are in your life, how would you define the success that you have right now? Where are you? Share with my audience, what is your success right now?
As far as like what I do for work,
Yes, yeah. What is your success right now in your life? Your top of the mountain moment right now.
The top of the moment success, I guess, right now, this moment is I just did a talk um, of taking back your pen and writing the story that you want for yourself, not for anybody else, in front of 300 people, and that was very successful. And it was the message was received really well, and a lot has already come from it. So I would say that right now has been a very successful thing in my life right now.
Wonderful. Yeah. So sharing your purpose and sharing what you do with others, so that other people can get the message of your purpose, and the tools and the strategies that you use to coach your clients. It's the most important things, participating in events. And that's how we kind of connected, through the speakers, authors, and coaches network. And it's always important, as my audience knows, to go to events, you can share your message, share your thoughts, your coaching in your case, as a coach. And so honored to have you here. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about that difficult moment that you had in your life, or the challenges that you overcame to become a coach, and to become right now the success that you are.
Okay, so for your audience, I work with a lot of high school and college athletes, not on the sport, but on the mind. And I got that way from basically birth. And I was born with something called cerebral palsy. And if your viewers don't know what cerebral palsy is, it's lack of oxygen to the brain at labor. And as a result of this lack of oxygen to the brain at labor, it can leave one side of the body paralyzed. It can affect your speech. And these things are permanent, they don't go away. So when I was born, I wasn't moving the right side of my body very much. And naturally, my mother was very, very concerned about that. So she took me to the doctors to get testing. And that's when I was diagnosed with the cerebral palsy. And this first doctor thought my cerebral palsy was so severe that he thought I would never be able to walk, and it would be a good idea to get me in a wheelchair because I was going to be my life going forward. Not only that, he really didn't think I was going to be able to speak very much, and obviously you can hear by my voice that I'm able to speak fairly well. But I've had a lot of conversations with my mom about that. And I was an infant, so I didn't talk at the time. Um, uh, she said that she cried herself to sleep that night, wondering what the life was going to be for her baby boy, and wondering if she, as a mother, was capable of handling a child with these type of needs. And she told me the next morning, she was getting me ready for the day to start, and I gave her a look if to say, Mom, don't let this be my story. I want to walk. And that mama bear inside of her started raging. She got a second opinion, a third opinion, a fourth opinion, finally found a physician willing to help. And with this physician's help and me doing physical therapy 5 to 6 times a week, and my mom's unrelentless attitude to make sure I was walking between age 2 and 3, a feat that 4 of the doctors said was impossible for me to do, I was doing, which was huge. Um, but early on in my life, though I was walking, I was very, very limited on how far I could walk or run. And I remember being put into soccer roughly when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And at the time, when I ran, I probably could run about 25 to 50 yards before my leg would give out. So when I was playing soccer, most of the time I'm standing there while kids are playing soccer around me. And I'll never forget what my mom told me, because one day I was just fed up. I was going to tell my mom I didn't want to play soccer anymore because I wasn't having fun. Kids are teasing me, and it just wasn't for me. And I was going to tell my mom I'm going to quit. And I remember what my mom told me. She said, Paul, if you don't want to play soccer anymore, that is fine. But you need to honor your commitments. You need to finish out that soccer season. And if you don't want to play soccer after that, that's fine. And that's exactly what has happened. I'm 44 and I haven't played soccer since that season, but I've honored my commitments. But I did get a big break roughly after that soccer season. Got surgery on my right foot to tighten up the tendon, give me a little bit more spring in my step. And this surgery was an absolute game changer for me, a huge game changer for me. I didn't know how big of a game changer it was until my first day PE. I was in a new school. We did our stretches, and the teacher goes, okay, guys, run a lap. And I'm thinking to myself, here we go again. I'm going to run 25 to 50 yards. My leg's going to give out. Kids are going to see that. They're going to start to tease me. Because of the surgery was different. Wow. I was able to go past that point where I normally have to stop. And I remember saying to myself, come on, Paul, you got this, bud. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I finished the lap with the other kids. On the outside, I kept it cool. But on the inside, I was like, yes, 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 yes. It was the first time in my young life where I just fit in. I didn't stand out. I was just like one of the other kids.
That's wonderful.
It was just a magical moment for me. And because that surgery, things got easier for me, but I wouldn't consider them easy. My parents got divorced when I was roughly about 12 years old. And that's a tough age to switch schools. A lot of these kids have been going to school with each other for many, many years, and they're starting to become teenagers. They're going through hormonal changes, and a lot of times they're not the most with filters at that age. They kind of say what's on their mind, and they really don't care if that hurts your feelings or not. So just being a new kid alone is going to be tough. And I'm a new kid who walks with a little bit of a limp and holds his right arm differently. So when I got into the school, I couldn't make a friend. I was spit on, tackled, you name it, they did it to me. And I come from this silly old school mentality where you didn't squeal, you didn't tattle. So I kept all this pain inside of me, and I didn't share it with anybody. While this was going on, I was raised Catholic, so my mom wanted me to go to Catholic high school. So I had to take an assessment test to see where they were going to place me when I got to high school. Well, I must have bombed that test because when I met with the principal and my mother, the principal tells the both of us that she's going to put me at the lowest level possible and she doesn't expect much from me. I don't seem like I'm going to be college material. After one test, this principal tells the both of us this. So now I think I'm stupid,
Yeah.
going back to a school that doesn't accept me, crying myself to sleep most nights, going, why me? Why do I have to go through this? I don't know what came over me, but the start of 8th grade, I was just really sick and tired of feeling angry and sad all the time. I knew deep down those weren't my go-to emotions, but because of the environment I was in,
So
those
you're
are the
sick and
emotions that were
tired of
coming.
getting sick and tired.
Was that?
You were getting sick and tired of getting sick and tired.
I was absolutely right. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. You were absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
So I thought, how could I change that state? Well, that's what I told you before, right? I wanted to be more in a positive state. I knew deep down I'm more of a positive person, but because of the environment I was in, the emotions that were coming up most of the time were anger and sadness.
It wasn't
I wanted to
supportive.
fix
It
that.
wasn't supportive to bring the best out of you. There's let me interrupt you for a second. I was studying a class the other day, and it was saying, what make a list, just a reflection in my journal. I think that's what it was. It was a reflection in my journal, and it said, what are the conditions of the people, what are the people or the locations that bring the best out of you, and what are the people and the locations that bring the worst out of you. And just writing that, it makes you have an awareness, like you, in the moment you have an awareness, like, is this really me, or is it the people around me and the location that is bringing the worst out of me? And I think that's a very important thing to highlight right now in your story, because it's an acknowledgement that we have the potential to be our worst self or our best self. And that potential can be triggered either way, depending on that conditions that surround you, and with the help, like a coach or something that surround you. So I just wanted to make a break to just highlight that moment, because that's very, very important in your story. That I want my audience to realize that the awareness of how the best of you and the worst of you are inside of you. And you have the choice to, well, no, you don't have the choice. You can be surrounded by supportive, or in a location that supports, or not, either the worst or the best. Yeah, continue.
Oh, good. I should have had you as my coach. It would have been easier for me at that time. Yeah, so it was pretty much really rudimentary. I wasn't able to articulate the way that you did at that moment in time, but I was like, I knew I needed to do something to distract me from the noise that I was feeling. And I thought, what could that be? How could I do that? And I thought, well, what if I set a goal for myself? And I'm thinking, well, what could my goal be? And at the time, I really loved sports. So I said, well, what if I try to make my varsity baseball team in high school? Because my baseball at the time was my favorite sport. And I'm like, okay. So I started playing fall ball, winter ball, spring ball. And if it wasn't doing that, I was throwing a tennis ball against the wall. And while I'm going through this journey, a coach comes up to me and goes, Paul, you play a lot of baseball. Do you have any goals with this baseball? And when I first started this goal, I don't want to tell anybody that I want to make my varsity baseball team because I didn't want people to laugh at me. Somebody with cerebral palsy making a varsity baseball team, get out of here. It wasn't going to happen. It was just something to do to kind of ignore the noise. So I kind of dismissed it. I just said, oh, no, I just like playing baseball. This coach kept asking me that question. And one day when he asked me that question, caught me at a weak moment. And I blurred out, I want to make my varsity baseball team. And I'm thinking to myself, oh no,
Oops.
what did I just do? Why did I just say that?
It slipped.
Yeah, it slipped. Absolutely, it did slip. And I'm thinking to myself, oh God, what is he going to tell me? Is he going to laugh at me? But he paused for a second and he looked me straight in the eyes. And he said, Paul, this is doable. And I'm like, what? This is doable? He goes, Paul, this is absolutely doable. But you got to have other people keep you accountable for this goal. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Keep me accountable for this goal. He goes, after practice tomorrow, you're going to go in front of the team and you're going to tell the team that's your goal.
Wow.
I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want to do that. If I tell them this goal, they're going to start laughing at me. These kids just started accepting me. If I tell them something like that, they're gonna laugh at me and they're not going to accept me anymore. And he said, Paul, there's going to be times in your journey where you're not going to feel it. And you're going to need the love of your teammates to push you when you're not feeling it. And you also need to put it out in the universe that this is your goal. Everybody needs to know this is your goal so other people can keep you accountable for your goal. If you're slacking, they can say, hey, Paul, remember, you want to make this varsity baseball team. You got to do X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
So reluctantly, I agreed. The next day after practice, I'm shaking. And I tell the team that was my goal. And the team didn't laugh at me either. They started clapping for me. And I know this now. I didn't know this when I was going through this journey. But I started gaining confidence in myself, a confidence I never had before. I started carrying myself, my shoulders back, my head up. And as a result of this, I'm sending a different energy out towards these kids. And as a result, they're sending me a different energy back.
Yeah, and
Instead
also
of bullying
the
it,
performance gets affected by that energy because now you're doing it with confidence that you can do it faster, better, and more efficient.
they started sending a different energy back towards me. So instead of bullying and teasing me, they started rooting for me. And that alone is the win because I gained friendships I did not have before
Right.
in middle school. Now I have friendships. That was awesome. But the cherry on top was I was able to make my varsity baseball team as a junior and a senior. In my senior year, I pitched a 3-hit shutout. They pour the Gatorade on me, and I felt so alive. I felt so good about myself. I graduate high school, and I really reflect on that goal that I set for myself. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't think this was a goal that I was going to reach. It was just something to kind of ignore the noise. But I was able to do it. So I started thinking about what that principal said to me years earlier about not being college material. See, all through college, or all through high school rather, I just mailed it in. I just did enough to stay eligible to play baseball because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, you're not college material. Why waste time? Just do enough to get by and move on with yourself. And so my grades weren't great. But I thought, well, if I can make this goal a reality, why can't I set another goal for myself to say that I am college material? So I enrolled into a junior college. I got myself a math tutor. I got myself an English tutor. I went to the math lab. I did everything necessary to increase my grade point average. And I took my barely a 2.0 all the way to a 3.5, where I was able to transfer to a 4-year university and become college material. And I so wanted to go back to that principal and say, see, you were wrong. I was college material. But I should thank her because all through college, I heard her voice saying that I wasn't college material. And my next thought was, I'll show you I am.
Mhm.
So because of that, I was able to hit the books harder than I would if I didn't have that motivation. So I thank her and I move on. And I'll pause there to
You
see if you
didn't
have
take
any
it for
questions.
granted. You just pushed, and that's an incredible trait to have, an incredible thing to show your clients. You know, when you coach them, like you have to continue. Like your mom. Your mom was persistent and insistent until she got the answer that was in alignment with her goal. She knew what her goal was. Her goal was to make you walk, to make you talk, and make you achieve what others said that you couldn't do. Same as your college, right? And same as your sports and your performance there. And it's just through persistence that your mom insisted and she got the right doctor that was able to help you. Through persistence that even though you weren't performing well in your sports and in the soccer and you didn't want to continue in the soccer, you know, through persistence she said, let's continue and do this surgery, maybe this will help. And then the surgery transformed because of the persistence. And then it's the same thing through persistence. You say, I'm going to do this, and varsity happened. And then through persistence again, maybe not college material, but you persisted in your goal. So it's really interesting, you know, for my audience and for me to listen to see how the combination of the support and the your willpower to persist and your family, to your mother, to continue and persist in the goal, having a right goal in mind, have a very clear a goal that you are willing to die for, right? a persistence that is unrelentless, that is relentless, and an environment that supports you, like you got the tutor, you have the math coach, and all that helped you get your grade points up. So with you had to have you could recognize your weaknesses and you ask for help, and you made your weaknesses your best strengths, and that made you achieve. Of course, we know already the success story that you finished college, right? And now you're a successful coach, and that teaches how to change the story and rewrite your story from something that whoever says whatever, and you can write your story that, what are the chances that you are here right now talking to me as a successful coach, speaker, author, and not a disabled person that somebody doomed you from birth, right? So it's really beautiful, your story. I really thank you for sharing. I really thank you for sharing. And I just wanted to do that pause, to kind of summarize, to continue. But um, you can continue with your story, like if you have more of that. Otherwise, I have another question.
Well, I can go into how how I became a coach, or I can just go with whatever your question, whatever's best for you.
Yes. So yeah, for sure. Like my next question was that. Like, so from there, once you finish college, what? Of course, now you achieved something that you knew that the odds of it, or whatever, all the environment and the support said you couldn't do. And from there, to change your purpose, to change other people's stories and help other people change their stories, what do you think made you decide for that purpose? What was the hunger that you had inside, that made you want to share, like to want to help others do what you've achieved?
So, for a long time, I was in the mortgage industry in sales, and I loved what I did early on in that industry. I actually loved Mondays. I enjoyed Mondays. I couldn't wait for Monday to start my day because I loved what I did in the mortgage industry. And then 2007, 2008 hit, and we hit a recession, and it really hit hard in the banking industry and the mortgage industry especially. And so the job that I loved to have went belly up. The company went bankrupt, and this happened 3 or 4 times. And some of these companies I was working for weren't as enjoyable as the company I was working for when I first got into the business. And I wasn't living for Monday anymore. Matter of fact, I couldn't stand Monday. I had what's called the Monday blues, and it's where it's Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, where you stop enjoying the day with your friends and family, and you start stressing over what you had to do Monday morning to the point where it affects your sleep. You wake up groggy, and you start the day on the wrong foot, like we talked about in the beginning of the interview.
Yeah.
So I was lost, and but I was good. I was good at what I did. And I remember one of the last places I was at, they brought in this motivational speaker to motivate us to get our sales numbers up. And at first I thought, why do I need to go to this? I'm a top producer. I don't need to listen to this motivation. I'm self-motivated, this and that. But it was mandatory. So I had to go. But I always was told, by my mom early on in my life that you need to keep an open mind. So I used that advice. I kept an open mind. I listened to what the speaker had to say, and the speaker blew me away. The speaker was phenomenal. One of the best speakers I've ever heard in my life. John Petz is his name. And he was very, very gracious. He allowed me to pick his brain a little bit. And he told me he started as a life coach. And I'm like, what the heck is that? He told me what that was. And I'm like, man, I think I want to do that. So I started telling people, I wanted to get into this, and so at first I was getting my coaching certificate, and I was telling people what I wanted to do, and people were like kind of humoring me, going, "Okay, life coach, go ahead and save the world, but can you get a few loans in first?" So nobody was taking me seriously, and I started getting my website up, my social media going, and the legal team that I was with at the time goes, "What is this that I'm just doing?" And I was very transparent. I was doing the mortgage loans as my full-time job and the part-time as a coach, and explained that to them. And they're like, "This could be a conflict of interest. We're going to get back to you." And they came up with this 5-page report of what I could and couldn't say. And one of the things that they came up with that sticks in my mind is I couldn't have my contact number on my website. I'm thinking to myself, what in the heck? If I follow this to the T, I'm not going to get any clients. So I made a decision. So for a year, I didn't do any coaching. I just did mortgage and I paid off all my debts. And a year later, I made President's Club. I quit. And people are looking at me like I'm nuts. Like, what in the heck are you doing? And I'm like, I got it. It's in me. I got to give this a try. And they're like, okay, whatever, man. But you're going to regret this. You're going to be back. And for a while, I thought they were going to be right because I wasn't getting any coaching clients. I wasn't getting any speaking gigs. I'm delivering food to make ends meet. And I started to think about it. I'm like, how am I gonna have people be vulnerable with me if I'm not vulnerable with them? See, the story I told you about having cerebral palsy, I wanted to bury that story
Mm.
because all I wanted to do growing up was just fit in. I didn't want to stand out. I just wanted to be like everybody else. So the thought of telling that story put me in tears. I
Mm.
want to tell that story.
Yeah.
But I thought the only way that people are going to open up to me is if I open up to them. They got to know my heart.
Mhm.
So I started telling that story, and at first it was very, very shaky. I kept doing it over and over again to the point where I was able to take the emotion out of it. And I'll never forget my first client was, Paul, I don't have cerebral palsy, but I have X, Y, and Z. And I'd be honored if I could hire you as my coach. So I think you can help me. And I've been building since then with coaching clients, speaking gigs, and just doing the things that I need to do to build my empire. And that's where I'm at talking with you right now.
This fantastic story. Like when you are there, so there's, if we summarize the traits, right? Persistence, willpower, vulnerability, discipline, and work ethic, right? Those are the things that I see. And if you can build your work ethic to just work hard until you reach the goals, do whatever it takes to fix your financials to get to a particular place, get a tutor to fix your grades, or have a surgery to, you have a work ethic to work with PT and everything that you have to do, right? Like therapy and whatever, work ethic, and you have persistence to continue the journey until you reach the goal without losing faith and hope that you're going to get there. That persistence is so important. And vulnerability, to know where your weaknesses are, to know where your valleys are, to know where your darkest points are. So to show that even though I had this dark moment, I can reach to success. And seeing that example for others, it shows anybody can do anything with that, with a very dark challenge, a very difficult challenge. And and the discipline, right? Like the discipline to continue, the discipline to, okay, I'm going to work here, I'm going to work in this company, I'm going to change this company. You had the discipline to maintain a rhythm and continue. You got a coaching certification, you got a discipline to finish that, and you got, like your mama said, honor the commitment. Like that's where the discipline comes in place, right? The how to honor, you honor the commitments by staying disciplined in whatever you've chosen. And so those traits really become embodied in one time, and then you're here. And it's just an incredible story for anybody that's listening and anybody that's watching. Please share, comment, follow Paul Forchione on LinkedIn, on social media. He's an incredible, inspirational, motivational speaker, author, and coach that can really transform and rewrite your story. And I want to ask you, Paul, if you have any questions, like what would you like your audience to what would you like them to have as a main message for you if you had just one sentence to give them? A very short sentence, like something, a short pep talk, a short little sentence, a short little thing that you want to say to the audience. What would it be?
I would say find your joy. The reason why I would say that is because you talk about my work ethic and this and that. And the reason why I had that work ethic, because I found the joy in doing it. If I didn't have the joy in doing it, I would say to myself, forget this. I'm not doing this. This is awful. I don't want to continue doing something that is this extremely unpleasant. But I found the joy in doing it. And when I found the joy in doing it, it didn't feel like work. And that's why I was able to have the persistency. That's why I was able to be consistent because there was joy in what I was doing and am doing.
Yeah, so joy change your story. The pursuit of joy change your story and can change anybody's story. And with a coach in hand, with you holding their hand step by step to the finish line, with you creating an environment and a supportive mindset to be able to select the right environment for them, because anybody that's your client, of course, they have to also be independent, and without you they have to have the tools and strategies to choose that environment, choose the people, fire the negative people, change the environment that they're in to find the place where they can get that joy. And it's so important. Thank you so much for sharing that. Again, please share, like, subscribe, leave a comment, ask questions. We are very active on social media, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, on every single one that's out there, including Blue Sky. So please send a message to Paul if somebody wants to get in contact with you, Paul. What is the best way to connect with you, and how can they get your services?
So the two easiest ways to get in contact with me would be through my website. It's the letter A, call to the word to action.coach. So a call to action.coach. My phone number's on there. My email's on there. And if you are a parent of an athlete, a high school and college athlete, I have a Facebook group called Parents of High School and College Athletes. Come join that as well. We have some great tools to help your athlete with performance anxiety and thrive.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. And I guess we'll see you next time in the next On the Road to Success.